We were barely past saying I do when my sister-in-law, Gina, decided to drop a bomb right in front of us, exclaiming, "I'm pregnant with your husband's child." Talk about a cheap soap opera twist. She really went there. But if she thinks she can corner us, she's got another thing coming. Time to show the strength of our marital bond. Here goes our counterstrike. My name is Tina. Every spring, I find myself chuckling over that incident from over 2 decades ago. Back then, I was busy planning my wedding to Benedict, a guy I'd been dating since our middle school days. We parted ways for college, but a high school reunion brought us back together and rekindled our romance. Sounds like a cliche. Well, it was just one of those bonds that wasn't easy to break, that's all. But as we prepared to tie the knot, there was a problem we couldn't ignore. Gina. My husband's family tree is a bit complex. First off, my husband and his sister aren't blood related. Their parents had previous marriages and blended their families when they remarried. For the record, my husband is Marcia's son, and Gina is Miguel's. Sadly, Marcia passed away, leaving my husband with no blood ties to his current family. Yet Miguel treated both my husband and Gina without favoritism, offering a wealth of love, as my husband would say, even more than most biological families might. But Gina, she started off close with my husband, until one day in high school, she decided she hated him because he reminded her of an ex who had dumped her. A truly bizarre reason. From what I heard, my husband's hairstyle back then slightly resembled that of her ex. So my husband changed his hair, trying to be considerate, only to be told, "A guy who fusses over his looks that much? Absolutely not my type." And that made her disdain for him even worse. To be toyed with over a hairstyle? What a sorry state of affairs. Nevertheless, Miguel hoped for sibling harmony. I get it. My husband understood Miguel's wishes and tried to mend fences time and again, but things just never improved. So naturally, we agonized over whether to invite her to our wedding. Out of respect for Miguel, we should. My husband also longed for a complete family gathering. But was it even possible to include her without a hitch? Would her attendance lead to trouble? The concerns were undeniable. Not sending a wedding invitation could be too blunt, potentially digging an even deeper rift. We should at least try to be open-hearted in our approach. We weren't at odds with her or anything. We didn't need to be best friends, but we hoped for a decent relationship. After many discussions with my husband, I decided to invite her, ready for any outcome. And then, to our surprise, we thought she would decline, but she promptly replied with an "I will attend." The thought of a fresh start with her at our wedding was, needless to say, something we looked forward to. But in the few months after receiving her RSVP, various problems erupted. Back then, I was trying my best to get closer to Miguel. I'd drop by my in-laws with a little gift or a side dish for dinner. I was more involved with my husband's family than he was, who rarely went back home. In hindsight, I might have not needed to try so hard, but this was all new to me. It was my first marriage, and there was no blood connection between Miguel and my husband. To top it off, my husband and his sister were at odds. And Gina, as a woman, I thought that by blending into the family, maybe, just maybe, I could change the dynamics of the entire household. In my own way, I was overly eager. Whether Miguel knew of my inner turmoil or not, he always welcomed me warmly. He was truly kind. But the problem was, still Gina. At that time, she had caused some trouble at work, got fired, and had become a pro at letting her parents take care of her. In other words, unemployment. And she showed no signs of job hunting. It was even dubious whether she had properly handled her post-employment affairs. After a while, she started greeting me. Considering she used to ignore me, this was progress, right? But things weren't that simple. "Tina, you're here again. Must be tough trying to win over the in-laws. You're not after Dad instead of my brother, are you?" It might have been her idea of a joke, but there was always an unnecessary comment. However, she would say nice things too, like, "That salad you made the other day was delicious. Teach me how to make it." So there were aspects of her I couldn't hate. Maybe she didn't understand the implications of her banter and meant no harm. That's how I started to see her in a better light. But as the wedding approached, her true colors began to show. One day, as usual, I visited my in-laws' home and was chatting with Miguel when his daughter came downstairs and suddenly started rummaging through my bag. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Chill out. I'm heading out. And can I borrow some makeup? I've run out of mine." "What? No, that's not okay." Of all things, she was after my lipstick. I couldn't possibly lend it to her. Even if she didn't mind, it was completely out of the question for me. "Stingy, huh? Then give it to me." "No way, that's impossible." Before I could finish, Miguel scolded her. "Don't go through other people's stuff without asking." She seemed to give up reluctantly under her father's reprimand, but muttered under her breath, barely audible, "Ah, annoying," and left. Miguel apologized for his daughter's rudeness, but she showed no sign of remorse. But that's not the point. She's always been a bit out there. But was she always the type to snoop through others' belongings? I was stewing over her behavior when the reason behind it became clear. It was 1 week before the wedding. Out of the blue, she called. "Hey, can you let me off with a wedding gift around $50? "What?" I was dumbfounded when she said she found something nice at a flea market and was trying to haggle with the seller. "I mean, I'm a bit short on cash. I admit, it's my fault for only using expensive makeup." Well, she's been unemployed for about 3 months, so running out of money makes sense, right? But then there should be unemployment benefits coming in at some point. I can't believe she's in such dire straits. Unlike my contemplative stance, she was lighthearted. "Oh, don't tell Dad about this." A wedding gift is about the thought, after all. "Exactly. So $50 is okay, right?" "Wait, what?" Gifts are about the thought, but there is a customary amount. Weddings cost money, and I wish she'd respect the usual rate. Trying to convey my feelings as tactfully as possible, she took it as, "Lucky me, $50 is okay." Oh no, this is going to be hard to correct without making it awkward. Money is such a delicate topic, even among close family. But $50 is really too little. I hate to say this, but can we make it at least $300? I asked hesitantly, feeling a bit anxious. Her response was outrageous. "What? Then I won't attend. It's just my brother's wedding anyway." "Wait, hold on." "But I don't have the money. If I have to choose between money and my brother's wedding, money is obviously more important," she declared. I just wish my husband could have been here. Unfortunately, it was just the two of us. Given the outrageousness of the situation, I really wanted to say, "Well, that's too bad, we decline your offer too." As the wedding approached, I had hoped that my husband and she might reconcile. Would my actions now end up saddening Miguel and my husband? After hesitating, I said something I didn't mean at all. "Then $50 is fine." Even though it was the spur of the moment, I was frustrated by my own weakness. She hung up the phone cheerfully without a word of thanks, saying, "Really? That helps a lot." I was left with nothing but emptiness. Can't she at least say thank you? I felt ashamed of my own poor judgment for thinking I could trust her a little. I no longer had any clue about her true nature. I hadn't been able to bring myself to talk to my husband about her wedding gift before the day of the ceremony. And then the big day arrived. Being the bride was more hectic than expected. I was busy from morning. It's busier than I thought, despite all our planning. I thought when I saw Gina off to the side in a corridor of the lobby. Despite my mixed feelings about the gift situation, I was glad she had come. Just as I was about to approach her, her angry voice filled the air. "That's what I'm saying. I'm not satisfied." "Not satisfied? But that was the deal from the start." "Why is it always me who ends up feeling shortchanged?" Gina was trying to stop a man named Mon from walking away. Should I not have come closer? As I looked on confused, Mon gave me a forced, congratulatory message. Congratulations on this occasion. He was a friend of my husband and a guest at the reception. Why were Gina and my husband's friend arguing on our wedding day? What was their relationship? He hurriedly said, "Well, see ya," and left. The awkwardness lingered. Just me and her left standing there. "Hey, what's going on with you and him?" I couldn't help but ask her. "It's nothing. Leave me alone." She walked away in a different direction than the man. My husband had seen the entire scene from a hidden spot. "Hey, you haven't forgotten that today is supposed to be our special day, have you?" Confused beyond measure, my heart remained in turmoil throughout the wedding, feeling like I had witnessed something I shouldn't have. The ceremony itself went well, fortunately without Gina causing a scene or anything of that sort. The next morning, I was expecting a lovey-dovey start, typical of newlyweds, but reality hit with the jarring sound of the doorbell. Miguel was on the intercom yelling with an intensity I'd never seen before. "Get out here, quick." "What's the matter?" My husband and I exchanged a look, braced ourselves, and opened the front door. "Yes?" Greeted by my husband, Miguel's anger ramped up. "What on earth have you done?" "Huh?" Miguel, practically on the brink of tears with rage, glared at my husband. "I'm pregnant with your husband's child. Here's the ultrasound picture." Gina brandished a photo and shouted. "Huh? My husband's child?" I automatically looked at him, and he shook his head vigorously, more shocked than I was, denying it. Mouthing wordlessly, he stammered. That what?" Yesterday. Ah, now it makes sense. Understanding dawned on me, and I nodded involuntarily. My husband nodded back. It seemed my understanding had translated to him as well. Yes, we both remembered the heated argument between Gina and my husband's friend at the wedding, guessing the tangle in their relationship. Should we set a little trap? My husband strongly nodded to my suggestive glance. He would surely get my attention. Miguel, suspecting our eye contact, challenged. "What are you two whispering about? What are you planning to do? Divorce Tina and prioritize your family? You have a child to raise." Miguel was fuming. Well, if this tale were true, his reaction would be justified. So shall we, a couple in sync, pull off a bit of a sketch? "You two? You never broke up?" I muttered in a fading voice, and my husband apologized softly. "Sorry." "Good job, my husband. He got the whole message." At our exchange, Miguel exclaimed. "What? Break up? What do you mean? Gina told me she was being forced into the relationship. She said she hated you because you resembled an ex, but that was a lie. And she grew to hate you because you were forcing yourself on her." She looked confused, uncertain how to respond to the turn of events. Ah, I see. She crafted a narrative where she was coerced into a relationship by my husband. Her goal must have been our divorce. Yet the sketch my husband and I are about to perform is a far cry from the scenario she anticipated. Life doesn't always go according to plan. Now it's time for our counterattack. "My sister and I have been in love since we were kids. You said I resembled your ex, but surprise, that ex is actually me." My husband delivered a splendid assist, fully tuned in to my feelings. We dated in middle school, but we broke up in high school after he realized our relationship. We reconnected at the reunion, and since he said he was single, I took the leap into marriage. To be betrayed like this? It's unbearable. Following my husband's lead, I continued with an impeccable act. Miguel, completely unaware of our marital farce, exclaimed, "This makes no sense. What in the world is going on?" I raised my voice in feigned anger. "My husband. He lied about breaking up and got engaged to me, all the while still dating Gina. He's been cheating the whole time. This is outright infidelity. I can't stand it any longer. I'm getting a divorce, and I'll be expecting compensation from the involved parties." Miguel was at a loss for words. His head hung low. My husband kept up his act. "I'm truly sorry for deceiving you for so long. My sister and I will make sure to pay the compensation." Upon my husband's resigned statement, she leaned forward and shouted, "That's impossible. There's no way you can take compensation." "Why not? How can you say I don't deserve compensation after what I've been through?" I countered. My husband chimed in. "That's right. Our affair is definitely infidelity. Accept it, pay up the compensation, and let's move on to a happy life with the kids." Miguel was already accepting our claims. "Hey, you better come to terms with it too. Unless, of course, you have something different to say." Her complexion turned a sudden shade of pale. "Ah, fine. The child, it's all a lie." We knew that all along. My husband spends most of his time working and dedicating himself to me, a serious man who got promoted after a few years of dating. He's not the despicable type to cheat with 2 women. "Why would you tell such a lie? Then the child? Whose sonogram is that?" Miguel shook her, his irritation clear. Still, she remained silent. "It's my friend's kid, right?" "What? How did you?" Her eyes bulged in shock at my husband's words. It seems we guessed right. "I heard the rumors from our classmates. You and he were dating. I've heard quite a bit. I even know about the argument you two had yesterday." "What do you mean?" Miguel pressed her for answers. Shaken by Miguel's uncharacteristic sternness, she began to stutter out the whole story. About a year and a half ago, she had casually met him at a bar and they hit it off, which led to an intimate relationship. He had a family and children. Knowing all this, she continued the affair. Unable to let go of the thrill of infidelity, she became incapable of stopping. Eventually, she got pregnant and tried to get him to take responsibility, but he wouldn't hear of it since the affair was consensual from the start. She hadn't been able to contact him afterward, but they happened to run into each other at our wedding, which apparently led to a fierce argument. "I was just so mad after getting dumped so harshly. Then Dad found the ultrasound picture. How could I say the guy was married? I was scrambling for excuses. It felt like I was the only one cursed with bad luck. So bitter. I figured if I'm going down, might as well drag everyone with me. So I blurted out the baby was my brother's, thinking serve you right if my brother and his wife had a huge fight and divorced right after the wedding. Maybe that would give me some relief." As she spoke with an almost "don't you feel sorry for me" fervor, it was clear it was just a parade of selfish excuses. On the wedding day, after hearing rumors about Gina from classmates, my husband had 2 guesses. One was if the rumor was true, then possibly Gina, sister-in-law, might be carrying a friend's child. Gina showed no signs of being on unemployment benefits. My husband speculated. Maybe she's not receiving benefits because she quit her job due to pregnancy. The reason she left her last job was only ever described as trouble, which she never elaborated on, deepening the suspicion. With a workplace dominated by men and old-fashioned male chauvinistic attitudes, he figured maybe announcing her pregnancy there caused friction and resulted in the said trouble. The other worry was that she might be jealous of me. Her frequent shifts in attitude towards me, once affectionate, could well stem from envy over my seemingly happy life with him. And with her impulsive nature, my husband feared she might do something rash to us as a couple, and this pregnancy fiasco was the result. Well, thanks to hashing out this topic endlessly last night, we managed to handle it on the fly. A misstep could have easily led to mutual distrust, maybe even divorce. I couldn't help but respect my husband for nailing the situation with almost perfection. Because of him, our relationship was saved. Though whatever she said, I never would have doubted my husband.
"Don't be ridiculous. It's too shallow. It's your fault for being involved with a married man in the first place. There's no excusing you."
"But it couldn't be helped. I'm a woman too. There are times when such things are fun," Gina, yelled at by Miguel, couldn't help but tear up. Yet everyone in the room thought her excuses were baseless. "I'm sorry, brother. I apologize. Please forgive me."
"No, I won't forgive you. How many married people do you intend to make unhappy?" "This is just too much. Even if she's my daughter, I can't forgive this.
Dad, too?
Of course. In the confusion, you deceived Dad as well.
What? Gina looked surprised for a moment, then, realizing her mistake, quickly said, I'm sorry. She might have intended to blame the trouble of lying about my brother being the father on us, but she didn't realize she had also deceived her beloved dad. Grasping the gravity of the situation, she collapsed on the spot, crying inconsolably. Miguel offered an apology with,
I'm so sorry.
Gina also apologized through tears, but Miguel was relentless.
Don't cry. Take me to the father of that child in your belly right now,
he demanded, making Gina stand up. What? What are you going to do?
Apologize to his wife, and let's take responsibility properly. This can't go on.
No. You mean paying compensation? I don't have that kind of money.
Of course, it's about the child. It would be pitiful to let them be affected by your recklessness.
Gina was at a loss for words against Miguel's irrefutable logic. After Miguel and Gina left, my husband said with a sigh,
Man, sorry about all that.
No, it's okay. I never imagined she would come up to us claiming to be pregnant with your child.
Thanks for believing in me.
Of course I do. Hey, should I have scrutinized the ultrasound picture just to be sure?
Oh, give me a break.
He replied with a chuckle. We laughed it off, thinking that, despite the mess, perhaps it was an experience that strengthened our bond as a couple that morning. Later on, Miguel visited the man's home with Gina to apologize to his family. He was served with divorce papers by his wife, who also demanded child support, alimony, and distribution of property. Gina was also sued and had to pay compensation. It turned out that for Mon, Gina was just a fling. There was never any marriage on the cards. Ultimately, the child Gina bore was adopted by Miguel's niece, who hadn't been blessed with her own children. The niece's family was financially stable and cared deeply for the child, who is said to be living happily. Miguel occasionally visits, forging a bond with his grandchild. On the other hand, Gina, unable to forget the thrill of her infidelity, got involved with another married man and was promptly discarded. After finally finding employment, she was fired and is now working part-time. Having been sued for compensation twice, she's now juggling day labor and part-time jobs to make the payments. A dire situation I heard about from Miguel. Since Miguel has disowned his daughter, only God knows the kind of life she's leading now, but bad habits are hard to break. As for us, we were blessed with 2 daughters, and our youngest will finally reach adulthood next year. Our eldest daughter became a physical therapist, wanting to do work that helps people. Perhaps because she was so attached to her sister, our youngest has decided to pursue nursing, chasing after her sister's example and working hard every day. They both assure us that they've got our future care covered, which spurs myself and my husband on to not rely too much on our daughters. Lately, we've been hitting the gym to stay in shape. When we celebrate losing a little weight, our kids tempt us with, "Let's go eat steak and put it back on." It's a constant struggle against our desires. To savor this happiness for a long time, we need to stay healthy. We're determined to enjoy life to the fullest, aiming to see our grandchildren, no, our great-grandchildren. We're gonna give it our all.